Instead, it is Martinez with the win. Nevada has done it.
The last time these two programs met on a Friday night, the Wolfpack shocked the country and upended the undefeated Broncos, and arguably the most gut-wrenching loss in Boise State football history. It's a game that lives in infamy for many Boise State faithful, and one that a lot of these Nevada fans relish in. And when Nevada shocked Boise State, it did mark another memorable moment in this storied rivalry between these two programs. Boise State will leave the Mountain West and head towards the Pac-12 next year, meaning that the decades of this rivalry will likely come to an end, at least for the foreseeable future. So for tonight's Bronco Rewind, we take you back through some of the most memorable parts of this rivalry, many of which happening in the late 2010s.
Bronco Roundup Rewind, sponsored by your local Toyota dealers.
Over the course of the last half-century, the rivalry between Boise State and Nevada has been nothing short of spectacular. The Broncos have dominated the all-time series, winners of 32 of the 46 total matchups between these two programs, but it seems regardless of the generational talent Boise State might have on a year-to-year basis, the Wolfpack have this strange way of hanging around. In 2007, the Broncos and Wolfpack squared off on the blue in what would turn into one of the most memorable games ever played at Bronco Stadium. Regulation wasn't enough to decide a clear winner. Neither was the first overtime, or the second, or the third. Freshman Colin Kaepernick was trying to do all he could to accomplish what few had done before him, upend the Broncos on the blue. But Tim Brady put that dream to bed, sacking Kaepernick on the two-point conversion, sending 30,000 fans into pandemonium on a Sunday night. 1,200 yards of offense, 136 total points, 69-67 Broncos. In 2009, the Broncos would host the Wolfpack again. This time it was the fullback who would be the hero. Dan Paul secured 3 touchdown catches en route to a 44-33 victory on the blue. Another loss for Colin Kaepernick.
Well, they clinched at least a share of the WAC championship. They got the tiebreak now.
364 days later, Cap would get his revenge.
As Boise State, number 4 in the country, trying to stay perfect.
The Broncos were 10-0. They were the topic of the Rose Bowl, even national championship conversations. But on that cold Black Friday night, Nevada turned those dreams into nightmares. Knotted up at 31, Kellen Moore heaves a prayer to Titus Young, a miracle ball caught with 1 second to go. One kick for a chance at the Rose Bowl.
No good!
But fate had other plans. As was the case in Kaepernick's freshman year, we would go to overtime. The Broncos would start with the ball.
This is turning into a disaster for Brotzman.
This time, it was Nevada with the kill shot.
Instead, it is Martinez with the win.
In the decades since that dreadful night, the Broncos have rolled Nevada, winners of 8 of the last 10 matchups, including last year's 28-21 victory on the blue. But when you ask a Bronco fan about this series, their mind will inevitably go back to that cold November night in Reno, wondering what could have been. Another epic page in a rivalry that's reached its final chapter.
And Boise State fans will also tell you all about the goalposts that were not regulation size when Kyle Brotzman missed that first kick. A very controversial way to see those dreams dashed. Austin, I don't know if you were watching that game. I was watching that as a kid with my 2 older brothers, and it was gut-wrenching to say the least. It was so unexpected. And the way it all happened, the Hail Mary, the 1 second remaining, you thought everything was going to be okay. And then it all slipped away in the most dramatic fashion possible.
Yeah, Jordan, this is why you play the games, right? I mean, you're talking about a team that had national championship implications. They'll be mentioned on multiple national stages, and then it all just went wrong. I was not watching that game. You took me through the memories right there in that beautiful story with the Bronco Rewind. What a crazy turn of events. What an unfortunate game, obviously, for Boise State. What could have been the what-if game. The entire fan base, of course, they're going to go back to that game when you talk about Nevada, just like you said. Wow. I mean, that is just unbelievable. 2 missed kicks and a season pretty much down the drain, just like that.
Well, and you talk about, I know they were 2 whack schools. The talent on both sides of the ball that was produced by these 2 programs is unbelievable. So much future NFL talent played in that game, especially on Boise State's side of the ball. But of course on Nevada, I mean, you had Colin Kaepernick, who would go on to be a huge success once he made it to the next level. It was just one of those times you had to be there for, I think, as a Boise State fan to really understand the significance of what that loss was. And Cap, say what you will, he got his revenge on senior night against Boise State, the team he was unable to beat his entire college career until that fateful Friday night.
Would you say that this is the loss that maybe Boise State Bronco fans probably have never gotten over, won't get over? How would you kind of describe this loss, since you said you were watching it yourself with your brothers?
I think that just the way that the loss unfolded, yeah, it's definitely one of those games. I think that's still in the back of Bronco fans' minds. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, there might be a few Boise State fans who won't necessarily miss this rivalry just because of what happened and what unfolded on that night. But that's what makes these rivalries so great. Both of these teams have executed and had incredible moments go their way, like Boise State in that 4 overtime thriller, and then of course Nevada on that cold Black Friday evening. So yeah, I would say that that's a memory, a core memory, whether Bronco fans would like to have it or not. That's going to be in the back of their minds for a while.